Hi, everyone. So we will get started with the meeting. I am Serena. I am the development manager for the food at DEMPED and also the fund manager for the Food Access Fund. Hope everyone can hear me okay. And also this meeting will be recorded for future and will be posted on the website going forward. So I have a slide deck that I'll be presenting, going through the information about the application. Sorry, give me a second. All right. So the purpose of the application. Oh, and just for general housekeeping, please stay muted. If you have a question, you may enter it in the chat. I will make time for questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so the purpose of the Food Access Fund is to increase equitable access to fresh, healthy, and affordable food by securing grocery stores, restaurants, fast casual restaurants, and other food access points in areas of low food access, with a primary focus on Ward 7 and 8. This is the second round of the Food Access Fund that we just released on December 6th. So funding priorities of this fund is to improve access to food options for residents of the areas that currently have low food access by encouraging existing food-related businesses to expand their operations into a new location in areas of low food access. The second priority is to expand the local food ecosystem and support fresh food retailers and providers through grants. And the third priority is to invest in businesses, particularly small businesses in the district. So the eligible areas of the Food Access Fund, you'll be able to find the map on the website, and I will put the link of the website following the presentation. And once you enter in the address of the location the new location that you'll be locating your business, the map will let you know if you're eligible or not. The green areas mark the eligible areas and the white areas are not. And this is absent of any redistricting that is happening right now. This map still stands. So retail priority areas, there is also a link to this within the RFA that's on the website. So for any restaurants, grants will be prioritized for the businesses located in any one of the following Great Street corridors, as well as any abutting square located in Ward 7 or 8. And those corridors are the Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, South Capitol Street, Southeast and Southwest, Minnesota Avenue and Benning Road, Northeast, Nannie Helen Burroughs Avenue, Northeast, Pennsylvania Ave, Southeast, Historic Anacostia, and Skyland. So eligible applicants, similar to the past round, existing food-related businesses with at least 2 years of revenue-generating operations are eligible. In this round, we also included new concept brands of existing food-related operators. Meaning if you are an existing food operator operating as one brand under one name, you are allowed to apply for this grant with a different concept. And eligible applicants include full-service grocery stores, restaurants, new concepts as mentioned, taverns, neighborhood-based eligible food operators, local business enterprise operators as defined by DSLBD, and you can find more information on their website. Food halls, property owners applying on behalf of food-related business tenants, and those tenants must be identified at the time of the application. For all applicants, you must commit to commencing construction within 18 months of executing a grant agreement once awarded. For any property owners, landlords, or development teams of a project, they must commit to supporting the project through providing specific amenities and inducements, included TIs, rent concessions, or abatements. And you can find more information about minimum requirements within the RFA that's posted on the website. For ineligible applicants, they include this list, but in particular, I'd like to bring notice the home-based food businesses are not eligible. Liquor stores, nightclub as defined by ABRA and DCRA licenses, seasonal food businesses, and any developers or property owners that received Neighborhood Prosperity Fund awards within the last 2 years. However, if your project received MPF through the property owner previously, you are still allowed to apply for this project. And expansion into additional space at an existing location is also not eligible. This fund is particularly for a completely new location from your current. Funding uses. This fund will be eligible for build out of new or vacant space, purchasing and installation of heavy equipment, fixtures, and furniture that is permanently attached to the wall, floor, or ceiling. It will also be eligible for rent and security for applicable grocery stores. Funds cannot be used for debt, expenses associated with preparing the application. So if you received help from a grant writer, that those costs cannot be expensed through this. Inventory, legal fees, marketing, payroll, and any other expenses not listed under eligible. We'll respond to the question in the chat shortly. So amount of award, so the maximum award will go up to $202.64 per square foot for grocery stores, and that will include cash for tenant improvement, rent, and security. For restaurants, it will go up to $252.51 per square foot for tenant improvement and rent. The funding is going to be distributed in 3 tranches or 3 disbursements. I'd like to remind everyone to stay muted. Thank you. Yeah, so the funding will be distributed in 3 disbursements, and those times are at the commencement of construction, when you received approval of the certificate of occupancy, and on the first day after 1 year of operations. And the reason funds are distributed in this way is because we as a district want to make sure that the funds are being put towards a business that is going to be lasting and sustainable within the community. So application format. So the next phase of this is going to be talking about specifics to the application. The application must be submitted in 8.5 by 11-inch page format using 11 or 12-point font. And there is a new application portal that we are using this go around. It's called Grant Vantage. The link will also be provided on the DMPED Food Access Fund website. So the application needs to include a narrative responding to the project summary, community impact, market feasibility, financial viability, business experience, job retention, proposed job creation and economic benefits, and certified business enterprise commitment. And again, you'll find more information, an in-depth list of the appendices and attachments in the RFA. So scoring criteria. The scoring for the application is going to be based 20 points for project summary, 20 points for the community impact section, 15 points for market feasibility, 15 points for financial viability, business experience as well. And for job retention, that will be worth 10 points, and a commitment to using CBEs is 5 points. So for each category, I'll go through some of the key points that you need to include within your application. For the project summary, we are looking for a concise description of the concept, the implementation of work, and operations of the business, as well as the description of the required work that the funds are going to be used for, a project timeline demonstrating that construction will commence within 18 months of a grant agreement, and a concept plan That includes the square footage and the space allocation. By space allocation, I mean the concept plan should clearly show the back kitchen, seating area, and identify the square footage per each section. So for community impact responses should show how funding the project will activate the area to positively enhance the neighborhood and community, support the applicant's ability to maintain a viable business, a physical and economic presence in the designated area, meet the program's priorities, which was the second slide on this presentation, which will also be posted on the website, contribute to the diversity of healthy food and food service businesses that allow for on-site dining. For market feasibility, we're looking for a concise description of the site and the immediate surrounding areas, an analysis with a focused assessment of the business, a precise statement of key conclusions reached by the analysis, and a statement of opinion of market feasibility. The analysis can be done by a third party. It will be preferred or be shown priority on the scoring, but it is not required. We also would like to note any changes and or modifications in business which will illustrate growth or anticipated growth through the change in business approach, product delivery, new product offerings, and the like. For financial viability, we will require some financial documents for existing businesses. It will be 2 years of 2 years from December 6th of balance sheet reflecting the assets, liabilities, and net worth of the business and an income statement. For new concepts, you will be able to you have to provide up to 3 years of financials for an existing business that you do have, just to show your financial aptitude for operating a business. We also will require a project budget, including sources and uses of funds and the immediate funding gap for this project. A budget narrative, providing justifications for all budget items in detail. And there is an attachment on the website that will have a template for this. We will also require business pro forma forecasting at least 3 years forward. For business experience, we will need a list of all major participants in the project, contact information, and a description of prior related experience. You can find deeper details on this within the RFA. For job retention, we would like to see the number of direct jobs that will be created or retained, the number of temporary jobs, for example, any construction jobs that will be created, and permanent jobs, for example, servers, hostesses in a restaurant. Whether or not the jobs will provide living wages, and the extent to which jobs created or retained will target persons living in Ward 7 or 8 or other individuals who face barriers to employment. For the Certified Business Enterprise Commitment section, we'll be looking for a commitment towards and a realistic plan to support the local economy by contracting with CBEs for proposed projects. And if a CBE could not be contracted for the project, a written justification of why must be provided. So application timeline. So the application was opened on December 6th. Again, I will put the link in the chat shortly. The application will close on January 7th. That's 2022, not 21, at 5 p.m. And no applications will be accepted after this date. However, there will be another round that will open, and you'll find more information on that on the website. So this will not be the last chance to apply. Applications review period, there will be an initial screening that will just ensure that all required forms, signatures, and documents are present. An independent review panel, which will be conducted by a third-party review, who will then submit their scoring and recommendations to DEMPED. And the final review period will be by DEMPED, who will evaluate prior reviews and make final recommendations. Award notifications will be approximately 45 days following the close of application, which is January 7th, 2022. And for any additional questions after today, you can contact the DEMPED grants team either by phone or email. And any questions provided today will also be in a frequently asked questions sheet that will be posted on the website. So I will open it up to questions at this time.
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
That's a lot of information. Does the business have to be based on a previous food or just a business in DC?
So,
Does
sorry,
it
can
make
you
sense?
elaborate?
Like you're saying, you have to already have that business experience or have had a business. Does it have to be based on food business, or could it have been as long as it was a business and having business experience in DC?
So it would have to be an existing food business.
Okay. Um, I got a lot of questions. I'm sorry. I'll let everybody else chime in. I have a food truck business, and just as I was getting ready to get started, COVID shut down and everything just like crashed. And I've spent a lot of money. I'm talking a lot of money getting prepared from being approved from health, DCRA, fire, and after that, I lost so much money. So although it was within that 2-year span, and I got my business license, would I be considered?
What, if you could send us an email and we could go provide more information on going through the dates of
What's the email?
sorry, hold on, let me put it in here. It's the DEMPED grants. I put it in the chat.
Uh-oh. No, I'm not that savvy now.
Sorry, so at the should be on your left-hand side, you should see a chat.
Is that little red button? Let's see. I saw something that said chat. Okay. I'll find it.
Okay.
Oh, I did. I see it. Oh, I'm better than I thought. So it's DMPED
Yep.
grant. Okay, DMPED and DC. Okay, now I guess I better ask if anybody else have. I'm sorry. I'll wait for other people. I don't want to clog up all the time.
All right. And if you do have a question, if you could use the raise hand function and I will call on you in the order that I see them. Okay, well, go ahead.
Um, Aside from doing the basic stuff like getting a basic business license and creating a business name, trade name, um, after the basic things and getting insurance and find out where if you already have a place in mind that you want to start the business, at what point do we put the application in? Do we put your application in before we start the BBL or after we got the BBL?
So since it's a new business, we recognize that you likely won't have a basic business license, so you can submit the application without that. It's not required this round because of that, but eventually we will require it.
Okay, is there a fee for putting the application in?
No.
Okay. And what aside from the I'm sure it's on there because I haven't printed it out. I did print it out, but it's quite thick. So once we put it in, what's the timeline? Assuming everybody have all the information they need. What's the timeline and the turnaround that you
So
all would start to
So
issue?
it closes January 7th. There'll be 45 days within that before you get a notice of whether you've been awarded or not. And then from there, it depends on how long it takes folks to get their compliance documents in. We typically try to give a week or two, but the grants team will work with you if it takes longer. And so it kind of just depends from there when the grant agreements get signed.
Okay. Now, I know you all will be bombarded with a whole lot of questions. What if we can't get it in a timely fashion? Can we reach out to you or?
The DEMPED grants email.
Okay, dmped.grants@gmail.com, at dc.com, .gov.
Correct.
Well, nobody's saying it.
Does anybody else have any? Tim, I think you're on mute. I don't. If you were saying something.
This is Steve. I had put a question in the chat about is the market feasibility section waived if the business is in a retail priority area or just
No, so just not the whole section, but the analysis is.
Okay. The analysis? Okay.
I just want to clarify on the question before that. When you said about not being able to make the deadline, were you referring to the compliance documents after being awarded, or were you referring to the January 7th deadline if you weren't able to get it in? That was for Ms. Fox.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your question that you had before. Yeah.
No, I apologize. I was trying to read in that chat. I'm trying to get acclimated and learn all this little nifty stuff. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
So your question about if you aren't able to get your information in on time, and Serena saying the grants team would work with you, were you referring to the compliance documents or were you referring to the January 7th deadline of the grant application when you asked that question?
I think my question was more so did you have to do you have to put your BBL and all the the steps of doing the DCRA thing first, or can you put the application in with the compliance and then do? And Serena was basically saying put the application in because quite naturally most of us won't have a business name already. And
Understood.
I do have a question.
I think there were a few more questions in the chat, Serena.
I think I responded to a couple, so I guess I'll say them out loud. So food trucks considered home-based businesses, they are not considered a home-based business. So if you have a food truck that has been operating for at least 2 years, you are eligible as long as you are locating into a brick and mortar space.
When you say that, what does that mean?
So if you're just applying to continue as your current food truck, that would not be eligible. So you would have to be applying to open up a physical location.
That's actually a good question because I was just about to ask that. I got so discouraged and then found out something went wrong with my truck that I was going to ask, could I, from my food truck, could I use my same business name and just convert into a smaller shop, a storefront?
Yes.
Okay. And would the same regulations apply in terms of a restaurant, like the fire, the health, and?
Yes. How much funding is remaining after the first round? So for this round, there's $7 million to be awarded.
Each individual or just as a whole?
7 million total.
I was gonna say, woo, what kind of business convert? 7 million.
Well, I have a question.
Sorry.
Yes.
So I was doing some research in the market feasibility. It says something about you guys give priority to applicants who have a third party, I'm presuming a professional company that takes care of the third party the feasibility market research. Mm-hmm. What other things, would you happen to know what other things you give a priority to? Obviously, there's Ward 7 and 8. One of the things is having a professional third party do the market feasibility. What other things were they?
I think the other one was just being in a retail priority area. And
the one other question that I had also was that it said that so one of the stipulations was having like a letter of intent or whatnot, right? If you don't have a lease secured already, right? And it says something about minimum of 2 years, but then it also says something about minimum of 10 years. So it's kind of I've read two different things, so I don't know if
It should be a minimum of 10 years.
okay.
Let's see. Where did you see the 2 years thing?
Give me 1 second. I gotta X out of here. I believe it's on the main. Hold on. I will find it where I read it at and send it to you because I can get in contact with you from the email, correct?
Yep.
Okay, all right, perfect. And I'll send a screenshot to you of that what I read because I was reading. It's I have way too much stuff going on right now.
No problem.
So I have a question.
Yep.
I was trying to write it out, but it might be easier to talk. So we
No
are
problem.
caterers, and we also have a physical location in Ward 8 at the ESA Arena, and we have since 2018. As a caterer with BOH, your business address is the address of the commercial kitchen that you work from, prepare things from, etc. Uh, that is in, I think it's Wards, it could be Ward 6, but it's up near Catholic University on 10th Street. Look at the map to find out what it is. But I'm wondering if that location where license is held, like the address on the license, Tastemaker's Kitchen, is relevant for our physical business, the address that's relevant, which is in St. Elizabeth's, Ward 8.
So the address that's going to be eligible is what you're applying for.
So, the one we're
Not
applying
current
for, okay,
location.
it's definitely, that's Ward 8, okay. So,
Yeah.
all right, okay. All right, that's that question. And then, when you are applying, and if there's a developer involved, like where you're going to expand to, you are applying yourself. I mean, the developer is submitting like a letter, or you guys are creating an operating agreement. That is part of the application. I'm saying, but I'm asking too.
Sorry, are you saying if the
you know.
developer is applying?
Say that again.
Can you repeat your question about the developer?
Sure. When you are applying, let's say I'm applying as a business to into an eligible area, and I meet all the other criteria, but applying at the location, at a developer's location. So what role is the developer playing in the application?
Okay. Yeah, so there is a landlord affidavit sheet that should be posted on the website as well. The landlord just needs to fill that out. And they should also specify if they are providing any TIs or rent abatement to the project.
So you said a landlord affidavit that we can find on where?
It should be on the website, and I put the link to the food access page in the chat as well.
Okay, I'll get that. And then what was the second part of what you said?
They also have to, within that form, they should say if they're providing any tenant improvement dollars or any rent abatement to the project.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. T, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much. My question, I'm a landlord, and my question is reference to, once again, the LOI. For clarification purposes, you said that the LOI has to have a 10-year minimum lease term. Can that
Yes.
be, typically most commercial leases are like 5 years with like two 5-year options. Can it be a 5-year with a 5-year option, or does it have to be a 10-year lease in the LOI?
Tim, do you want to grab that one?
That's a good question.
Because most commercial leases aren't 10 years; they're 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be eligible with
Okay,
it would be eligible if there was a 5-year lease with five, but it needs to be at least 10, including the options.
absolutely, excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Tim.
When you say 10, you mean not to exceed or the max or?
Minimum.
Minimum. When you include the options that are on the lease, it needs to be at least 10.
Okay.
And so I don't know how to raise my hand, but my hand is up. Yes, can't show the button. But I found out it says on the landlord affidavit, it says about the 2 years. It says the lease cannot be, let me read the exact word verbiage. The term of this lease is no less than 2 years from the date of this letter.
Okay, that will be revised. It is 10 years.
Well, it would be 5, right? Well, 5 with additional
Well,
options.
5, yes.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, just make sure.
Just a clarification, I don't want to imply that we're saying that it needs to be a 5-year lease with multiple options. What we're saying is we want leases that are minimum of 10 years. And if you have a 10-year lease with multiple options or a 5-year lease with multiple options, as long as that the combination is greater than 10 years, then that qualifies.
Give preference to somebody who has a lease that says that the minimum lease is 10 years as opposed to somebody who has 5 and an option for 5.
I didn't understand.
So like, you know how Mr. White, you had just said that if you minimum is 5 years and then it can be an option for another 5, the total has to be 10 years, right? Or if somebody has a lease that says outright for 10 years, they have a 10-year lease.
That works too.
Okay. But what I'm asking is, would you give priority to that as opposed to somebody who has a 5-year lease with a 5-year option?
I think we will factor in everything that's a part of the scoring, and so all of those things together will dictate what the score is, and so.
Okay.
A couple questions in the chat I am just going to respond to. If the cannot make the deadline of the 7th, when will be the next round? Tim put the schedule in the chat as well, so the next round would open January 18. Second question, how is it determined how much funds you can request? Is it based on your square footage of your operation? Yes, the funds will be based on square footage. If you need less than what the calculation is, feel free to put that. But the awards will be based on the square footage. Hans has hand raised.
Hi, yes, how are you? Thanks for being here. I have a question. So we generally have the existing business under a legal entity, but the expanded entity, we want to have it under a different entity, legal entity. And I know in the previous on the first round, I don't know if it's the same in the second round, I assume so. But it requires a Dun & Bradstreet number. It requires a federal ID number. I think you have to set up a vendor. You have to go through the vendor portal, all that stuff. But we want it to be in the new entity's name. But is that possible to do that without the registration for Ariba and Dun & Bradstreet?
If you could send that question to the grants team, we are trying to work with everyone. We understand that's just the nature of the business. So we will work with what that process is. But if you could send the specific question to grants.
Yeah. So what happened with us is that we were awarded in the first round under a different concept, but we were awarded, but with our existing corporate name, corporate entity. But the lease was actually signed with a different corporate entity, and so the funds were actually awarded to the existing one, but it should have been awarded to the new one. And that's where we got all tangled up. And I kind of want to avoid that. That's the whole thing here.
Okay, well, if you could just email the grants team and
Okay,
CC me as
I will
well.
do that. Yeah, I'll do
Put
that.
my email
Okay,
in the
thank you.
chat.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So if you were awarded, let's say this time, that when it went to, you can apply again, but under, can the same entity apply more than once? If they
Good
win?
question.
So you can't apply for the same location more than once.
Can you have
You
more
can-
than one?
I'm not saying
Yeah, you
location, I'm
can
saying
apply
that
for
they
more
have
than
a
one
different,
location.
you can apply in a different.
Okay.
Yes, you could apply for different locations.
Okay.
But under the same, like more than one business? But the same name?
Yes.
So for the same,
Can I have a follow-up question?
Okay,
Can I-
sorry.
can I-
We're gonna go back to the hand raising. There's a couple.
I don't know how to do that.
Alright, who's talking right?
Raise your hand. That little.
I think I saw Angela. Did you have something to say?
Just wanted to be sure I was clear, about your answer. The part about if it's a different location, you can apply more than once in another round. But let's say this round, you can apply at different locations simultaneously?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You just can't apply for if
The same.
you're in building A for both space 1 in building A and space 2 in building A. It needs to be separate locations. Okay, I think Hans, you have.
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question. In the beginning, I heard you mention that the concept does not have to be the same, which is different than the first round. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
In the beginning of your presentation, you had said that the concept did not have to be the same,
Correct.
but that is different than the first round.
Yes.
Okay, it can be. Okay.
So question about the funds to request. Can you just elaborate on that?
So
Thank K-Pro.
I have an existing, say, chicken concept.
Oh, wait,
and
no,
now-
sorry, not you, Hans.
Oh, okay.
Questions. There was a question from K-Pro about the amount of funds to request.
Oh, shoot.
I'll respond to that in the chat. If anybody else has a question.
I have a question. I have one last question for you, ma'am.
Yep.
All right, so there's a property that's on Pennsylvania Avenue, right? It's right, but it's on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, but it's Ward 6. So that would not be considered correct because on the application it says Ward 7 and 8, but on the Greater Street corridors it does say Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, but it falls in a different one.
So there's in the RFA, you'll find a Great Streets corridor map. So if it's abutting that or in that corridor, then it'll be eligible.
And it's not.
So if it's not on that map, then no.
Thank you.
Yes, Miss Serena, this is K-Pro. I'm sorry, I wasn't unmuting. You were asking me about my question about requesting funds. And my question is related to whether or not the funds that I request is based upon what's in the budget, or is it based upon the amount of square footage when you gave the numbers in the beginning of the RFA? That's what I was trying to get clarity on.
Got it. So you can request up to the number I provided times the square footage of the space.
That's what I wanted to
Yes.
understand. Even
Yeah.
even though I'm gonna submit a budget, I guess, for lack of a better term, my budget may exceed that, for lack of a better term. That's what I mean. As opposed to, but the request, the amount that I'm requesting, I should understand should meet that criteria. That's what I was trying to be clear about.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
correct.
correct? Wonderful. Thank you very much.
So question about if we have recommendations for organizations that can help with the application process. There was a list provided in the last applications, frequently asked questions. I will include it in this one that will be posted by beginning of next week. I'll have this PowerPoint posted on the website as well for the question. That's if there's a PowerPoint to review.
Are you able to send it to the emails that we provided for the WebEx?
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. I would prefer. I'm not all that great with that.
No worries. I can send that over.
Also, if I'm interested in a location on Good Hope Road, how do I find? Because a lot of vacant buildings are there going up, but they're moving fast. How do you determine who owns it? Because there's not a for sale sign, but it's been sitting for like 20 years.
So you just want to know who owns it?
To see if they're interested in selling, because it's been sitting. It used to be a hair salon, and it's been closed for like, I know, minimum 20 years, and it's just sitting there. But I was just interested. But I don't know the I have the address, but I don't know the owner of the property.
So if you go on, I think propertyquest.dc.gov, it should provide you with ownership information.
You said Property Quest.
Yep. Propertyquest.dc.gov.
dc.gov. Thank you.
Problem.
You have given a wealth of information. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. As I mentioned before, the PowerPoint will be posted on the website, as well as questions from this session and any questions from the previous round that still apply to this round.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.